Hey everybody, welcome to the Comedypreneur Show. I'm James Creviston, and today we're going to talk about what comedians have in common, what all comedians have in common, right? And it's going to be weird because most of you are going to go, wait, you're telling me that all comedians have something in common? Actually, they have a few things in common. So tell me what you think comedians have in common. Go ahead and put it in the comments below, give this a like, subscribe, and then jump to the video. Hey everybody, it's James, and this is the Comedypreneur Show, and today we're going to talk about what comedians have in common. There are 5 things that I believe all comedians have in common, right? And these are all common traits, right? So let's jump into it right away. Let's get to number 1. That's going to be idea association. That's where they can take ideas that seem to be unrelated or not linked in any other way, and then find a way to link them together and make them funny. People do that all the time. Comedians are some of the best, the sharpest, smartest people out there, and they do this day in and day out. So they could take, hot dogs and baseball. Those two things go together. Man, I'm trying to think. It's hard. See, right? I'm already linking stuff. I could find a link. You know what I'm saying? But they take things where you're like, wait, how did you think of that? How could they possibly have thought of that? And then they make something funny out of it. Every comedian can do this. Open-ended questioning. So they usually ask themselves, what about this? What if this? What about that? How did this work? Why did they call it a driveway? Why do you drive on a parkway and park on a driveway, right? That was something that a comedian came up with a long time ago. That's a silly, funny term. And it's like, oh yeah, I never thought about that. That's an open-ended question. They're asking this question. Why? Why are we doing this? How? What is this? Why is that? Those kind of questions. When you start asking questions, you come up with ideas and your brain just really starts to work. And comedians do question a lot of stuff. That's why some of the best comedians have questions, And Jerry Seinfeld, who I love, he had all those questions like, what's the deal with airplane food? Okay, that's a terrible Jerry Seinfeld impression. I apologize that you all listened to that. But you know what I'm saying? Like, those kind of questions, that's what gets people thinking. The next one is going to be observation skills. Again, we come back to Jerry Seinfeld on that. And what's the deal with airplane food? Why, this? Why that? Jerry Seinfeld stuff is very observational. He's looking at the world and saying, this is weird. Why? It's super weird, and maybe it's a mundane thing, which it usually is. This mundane thing is weird, and I'm going to tell you why it's so weird and why you should all think it's so weird as well. And that observation grabs you, and that's what comedians do. Every comedian does it, right? It doesn't matter if they're telling a story about their life. They're observing it and then telling it to you so that you laugh. They say it in an observational way, and they're observing the world and telling you why it's so unique, why it's so silly, why you should laugh at it, why it's so crazy and wild, Even the Bert Kreischer machine story. Yeah, it's a story, but it's his observations throughout the story. Oh, why did this thing happen? Oh, this teacher said this to me. Oh, all these things. The Russians came up to me, and this, all this stuff. They're all his observations of what happened during that time frame. Experimental ideas. I think the king of experimental ideas right now is Joe Rogan. He comes up with some of the most unique and experimental and weird stuff. He talks about all kinds of stuff from aliens to Kardashians to Kanye to, flat earth and just so many things. And it's because he has his podcast, obviously, and he takes that and turns it into stand-up bits. But he's so experimental in the way that he does things. And then before that, you have guys like George Carlin, who started off as the hippy-dippy weatherman. He was this straight-edged hippie kind of dude. And then he became George Carlin, the political ranter, and then we get Louis Black from that. Like, everything happens for a reason, and those experimental ideas change comedy as it goes along, right? I know a lot of comedians who wanted to be Dane Cooks when they were growing up, right? They're like, I want to be the next Dane Cook. And Dane Cook took that from other people, and there's just so many styles of comedy is just really interesting. And then the next one is going to be idea networking. And what that means is that as a comedian, you're going to work with other comedians and you're going to build off each other. You're going to build this kind of neural link, neural network and stuff. And what you're doing is you're sharing ideas with each other and you don't even realize it. And we all kind of, as you hang out at comedy clubs, as you hang out with other comedians, you're going to kind of like meld, like mind meld, right? Not in the Star Trek term sense, but that'd be kind of cool. But you're going to meld. And you're going to network ideas. So somebody's going to say something, it's going to spark something in your mind because the rest of those things were going. And now you're like off to the races writing a new joke. So keep that in mind, right? That idea networking is great because you might give someone information and they might give something back to you. And you didn't even realize that you both just swapped those ideas. And now you're both writing jokes and it's so interesting. That's why it's always good to have a group of comedians around you, a group of friends that are in comedy, to work together, because you guys can bounce each other ideas off each other. I have my buddy Luke and my buddy David, and we always talk jokes. When we're driving, we're going over jokes or going over material. Maybe we'll talk it through, and we're recording and listening and writing and whatever. It's really interesting, and just keep that in mind. So comedians, we're a unique breed. We're a rare breed. We're out there. We're living our lives, but there's a lot of things that make us the same, right? Even though we're so unique, together as comedians, we have a lot of things in common. Tell me in the comments below what you think makes comedians unique from everybody else. We'll talk about it. Please give this a like. Please subscribe. And I'll see you on the next video. Have a great one.